All right, so welcome back to this week's episode of the Rock and Roll Ghost podcast. This week we have the distinct pleasure to be talking to Singapore's premier food writer, world-renowned Mr. KF Seetoh. How are you doing today, KF?
Hey, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are.
It's evening here. Yeah.
I'm good. But the little problem here where I am in Singapore right now, we just had a second lockdown. I mean, we were doing fine. Just about 2 weeks ago, Singapore looked like there's no COVID, but except everybody's wearing masks. And then suddenly we had a new strain coming in from South Asia. I got to be politically correct. We're not going to mention nations. It's a B of 16, 17, and it infected quite a lot of people, especially children. So we are frantically running around now to vaccinate kids because when the kids are affected, the parents are affected. When the parents are affected, work is affected, retail is affected, everything is affected. If the kids unhappy, ain't nobody happy, man.
See, now I'm a bit concerned that because we're here in the States, we're starting to kind of relax things, and now I'm kind of concerned to get hit with something.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to visit States again. I love the culture that is the United States. Sometimes I do call New York my second home. Like so many friends there, but from my point of view, from where I'm coming, despite what your CDC says about taking off that mask and letting it all rip, be very careful.
Yes.
There are new variants coming in. The new variants are raceless. They are colorless. They are invisible.
How is the vaccinations going there?
It's going on. I've had my jabs fully done now. I have my Pfizer, and it's going on. The government gives out free. You make an appointment, you do a jab, and within 3 weeks, you get the second jab. And it's running along quite nicely.
They're not finding that people that have been vaccinated are getting it again, are they?
Again, sorry?
No, they're not finding that people that have been vaccinated are getting COVID again, are they, or the variant?
No. I think there are a couple of cases, but it's too small a number to make it a case. Some people have existing ailments that may complicate the vaccine. So, but this kind of things come into play. But the overwhelming majority, no problems. Just the usual side effects. A little bit tardy, a light fever, a little sore here and there, but it all magically disappears in a couple of days. And they said, if you get all these symptoms, pain, fever, nausea, and all that, it means the vaccine is working. You should be concerned if you feel nothing after the jab.
Yeah. I didn't feel that bad for the first one. The second one threw me off for at least almost a week. I was off my game for a while. So
congratulations, it's working.
Yeah.
So back to regular programming. What's going on, man?
I'm talking to you from outside Chicago. I'm assuming you've been here.
Not yet. It's on my bucket list.
When you come, I will be your host.
Hey, I got a gang member there already now. Thank you. I will take that up.
Great. And I dream personally of coming to your country. I have to say that I didn't know much about Singapore until I started seeing you with one of our favorite, probably our favorite people. I think we could agree on is Mr. Bourdain, who introduced, I think, so many people, at least stateside, to what is happening in Singapore.
World-side, not just stateside, world-side.
World, yeah. Sure.
Can you hear? No.
I can hear you.
You can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, no, it's not. You're still hearing on regular speaker. Sorry.
No, it's okay. No. So
Tony. Yeah, Tony. When I first met him, 20 years ago, I think, almost 20 years ago. He came to Singapore, and I don't know who he was. Nobody knew who he was. He just broke into the scene with the book that he wrote, and Oprah put him onto the stratosphere by having a segment on. And I got a call from his folks, and he said, "Hey," and I was quite pretty hot here. I was the first to do a hawker street food show. I'll tell you about hawkers later. I did that show in Singapore, and it went through the roof. And suddenly, I was a reluctant celebrity. And then I had a call from Tony's folks. He says, "Oh, Tony says he's filming in Singapore. And he can't leave Singapore without having you on the show." And I said, "I was with my wife, just filmed something." And then I said, "Yeah, okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah, how's 5:36 this evening? Yeah, sure. I'll get back to you on where we'll eat later." And I hung up and I asked my wife, "Who the hell is Anthony Bourdain?" We met at 6 o'clock at this dingy little, we call it coffee shops. You call it deli or cafes. It's really run down. It just had swimming, or rather tanks full with live fishes and shrimps and whelks and all kinds of seafood. God, I don't even know what we ate. And he'll scoop it up, cook it to you, and you have it fresh and you eat there. It is the most expensive seafood restaurant. It's the most dirty seafood restaurant. It's no service. The place is run down. I mean, it's clean by Singapore standards, but we call it run down. And what happened was Tony was just walking around looking at all these tanks and fishes swimming. It was like, you know how it is when you set a kid loose in Toys R Us?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my first impression of him. So we said, we exchanged pleasantries, and then he pointed out, I mean, he did his research on me. He pointed out to the food guide that I was writing, the hawker food guide that I was writing. I did a foreword, and he pointed me to one particular sentence, and I said, "This guy is going to be my friend." He said, "I like what you said here." I can't mime Tony. And he said, "Food on screen and on print is an oxymoron. You have to devour it to experience it." And I said, "Yeah, we're going to be good friends." So we had a good meal. Two of us. I kid you not, we ate some of the most expensive, freshest seafood. If you go to a restaurant and order what we did, that meal would probably cost $1,000. The two of us, plus this Asian who was very politely nibbling beside us and off TV, we ate $600 worth of seafood that night. In a no-frills eatery, and it was so good. And this particular hawker or this cook, he wears a Wellington boot, he wears a singlet. He doesn't give a damn who you are. He just comes in, "What do you want?" Da, 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 da. He always served the pièce de résistance last. He would bring out his fish, his prawns, his shellfish, his crayfish, whatever, crabs, whatever, and he would leave the last dish. It's his crab noodle. It's done with a bihun, which is essentially a rice vermicelli, or if you must, a rice angel hair pasta. This thing takes sauce very, very well. And he always serves it last because, in his words, if I serve you first, everything else will be lousy.
Right.
Tony had one bite of it. Wow. And this is after 6-7 dishes that we had. Tony, one bite, nibble on the crab, put the fork down, gulped his beer, and he turned to the camera and he said things about how well he's treated at La Bernardin and blah, 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 blah. And he says, after this meal, I'm really happy if the world ended right now.
Yeah.
He said, and then I was eating beside him and he turned to me, swung the camera over to me, and he said, "What do you think, Seetoh?" I said, "What the hell is your show? You want me to do the mumbling? Gosh." And so I looked at him. I remember what my mother said. I said, "Tony, why do you talk so much when there's food on the table?" My mother always said, "You better eat what's before you because you do not know if your next meal is coming."
Right.
He turned that little conversation into a chapter in his book, The Nasty Bits. Go check it out.
Yes.
I loved him, man. I loved him.
Yeah, I got the pleasure of interviewing him a few times. And honestly, I'll be just truthful that he was a hero of mine. And I know we're coming up on 3 years since he left us. And there are times where I was watching his last Singapore episode with you just before I got on the call here, and it's difficult to deal with, sometimes, and I'm sure as somebody that was his friend.
I've had a lot of, and I've met him many times. Even unofficially when he came to Singapore, not to film, but just to meet up and say hello and talk about his projects. Hang on, let me soften this light on my chiseled face. Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, you're good.
I've gotten to know the man. I've had dinners with him in New York before. I've gotten to know the man much later instead of the celebrity. And I have to say I didn't spot this sadness in him, this depression in him over the late years. And in 2017, I invited him to come down to our World Street Food Congress, an event he has supported. Tony don't really show up for this kind of events. But when I said this event was all about preserving heritage street food vendors around the world who are just eking out the living and hawking heritage food for the world to marvel and enjoy it. He jumped right in. He came every other year to my event, and he seldom does that. And because I told him it was all about what's up his alley, championing this story, championing this people. Yeah. And I thought he was extremely quiet. So I thought, he doesn't talk as much. And I asked him, hey Tony, is there anything you want? It was an event in Singapore and in Philippines. And I said, is there anything? Wink, wink. And then he said, no. Could you get me on right after the event? Could you get me on a flight back home to wherever he's got something to do? And I said, yeah, sure. We chat, but it was cursory conversations, and I hadn't known that there was so much depression and hurt in him. I would have just slapped the shit out of him. I said, go shave your stupid head and go spend 3 bloody fucking months in Thailand and look up and thank the heavens for every little breath that you are taking every day. Appreciate your life.
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? A lot of people that have those problems keep it to themselves, and the man had probably a lot of pressure. I mean, he was working on so many different things. He had his family situation that had changed, and who knows what it was. Sometimes it's in the moment. People don't even think about it, but all of a sudden in the moment they decide. And I know that I've heard the thing is when they decide, it's like a certain peace comes over them, and there's a certain clarity perhaps. And it's a shame for all of us that loved him. It's a real shame for his daughter, of course. But he gave us so much in such a little time, I think.
Yeah. I was particularly excited when he came to my first inaugural World Street Food Congress. He flew across the planet to help us launch it. We had a press conference in New York at John George's Spice Garden Market, which was an inspiration of the Singapore hawker food in his menu. And, Tony did his thing, the media did his thing, they loved him and all that. He fronted the event. And when he came up to see the actual event, we flew in about 40, and Singapore is small. 40 is a lot for an event like this. 40 vendors from around the world. Some spoke no English, some hardly, some just pure sign language. Has never been. Some of these vendors are so iconic and so local. They have never left their country. This Indian vendor took him 36 hours from bullock cart to bus to train to aeroplane, 36 hours just to get to Singapore. Wow. And he was so amazed. And he roasted some of his, he made and roasted his bread over open wood fire in front of you at the stall that we make. We custom designed every stall for every vendor to suit their needs. And he cooked this curry, and you ordered, he gave you chicken, he gave you this it's awesome roasty curry. Roasty, I don't know what he does. And on this bread, warmed over amber fire, you pick up, you dip in, and then it's then that you realize, there's a lot of reasons to be happy here, because people like this are happy to feed you. Poor people will feed the poor. poor people would feed the happy and the rich people. And few years later, 3 or 4 years later, this Indian vendor that went home, he became a rock star. Everybody wrote about him. Everybody said, "Wow, Bourdain came to your place and ate your bread and all that." Today, he has 11 outlets.
That's awesome.
He was featured on the Netflix street food.
Okay, I've seen some of that. Yeah,
his story just made me tear. Just made me feel so lucky that by eating, telling stories, I could do my part and help these people a little bit. I feel really honored to be able to do that just by eating and telling stories, Brad.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you some kind of background questions. How in the world did this become your life? What you talking about, writing about, organizing around food? What was it about food that spoke to you in terms of this being your career, to be a food writer?
So I'm not much for books in school. I went to very good schools, and numbers make me fall asleep. And I love words. I love words. I love ideas. I love thoughts. At the age of 16, I was talking about Lobsang Rampant. Go Google the guys. It's all these ideas about life that turned me on. And I took up design, advertising, art, and graphics. That's what we called it back in the day. And I always had these things about visual and a story. So I didn't go to college. I didn't want to go to college. I went to design school. And then later on, I joined the army. I became a photographer because I was taking a lot of pictures. And I spent a good 8 years in the media, the key national newspaper then called it. I left 8 years later because the government bought over the newspaper. As far as I'm concerned, governments do not buy newspapers. And I went to do professional photography. I always applied photojournalism to corporate work. It's a little peak, a little moment that I shoot and tell stories about corporate culture, about a company, and lend a different storytelling approach to doing annual reports. I made a heck of a lot of money doing annual reports. And then I got really tired. Bought my houses, bought my cars, and I said, I'm bored. I don't want to be lugging around 100 kilograms of equipment and cajoling portraits and all that. And I said, food. I love our hawker food ever since I was a kid. When we say nasi lemak, when we say chicken rice, when we say laksa, visuals come to my mind. A person, a place, a taste comes to mind, and I look forward. Even when I was a photographer, zooming around, I was a photographer in the newspaper, zooming around on my scooter. I always get paged. Remember pager those days? Paged by my bosses, and they say, "Where are you, Seetoh? I'm at Clementi. Clementi, hey, you give the film to the reporter who will bring it back to us to process. Can you stay there?" I say, "Yes." Another assignment? No. I want you to go around the corner and buy this noodle, and make sure it's the old auntie serving and all that. And I said, "Yeah, what the hell, whatever." But that started me on this affinity Singaporeans have for food. It's a relationship, and I went, hey, I think we're onto something. So I had this black book. I bought a black book, A to Z. I said ang tu kueh, bak chor mee, chicken rice, duck rice, all the way to Z, and everything in between. And I said, who told me stories about what? And I write it all down. And in 1997, I had the idea of inking our first food guide. Nobody street food guides in Singapore, and we have 1,000 street food vendors in a country where it's no longer than 75 kilometers long.
20,000 hawker stalls.
Over 1,000 licensed hawker. We don't have unlicensed. Everybody's licensed.
Everybody.
If you drive coast to coast draw the longest line it costs across Singapore and drive it coast to coast, it's only about 75 kilometers. That's how small we are. In that space, 20,000 over, I think about 25,000. Some of them had closed during COVID. It's about 25,000 licensed street food hawker vendors in Singapore. How amazing is that? Everywhere, if you fall off a plane 35,000 feet above onto Singapore, you're likely to land on somebody that's selling chicken rice. And they ask you, hey, you want takeaway? You want doggy bag, or you want to eat? So that's my story. And I thought, food is a story.
Yeah.
Food is all about taste. So when I embarked on writing this guide, of course I read the great food guides of the world, the Michelins, the Gore and Mayos. I know how Japanese revere their food, and I said it's always about the culture, less about the food. I can say delicious, you can say no. I can say potato, you say potatoes. But if I told you about Mr. Wang, that Hainanese man who came to Singapore as a migrant back in the day, no jobs, no hope, no nothing, and he came up with this dish called chicken rice. He cooked jasmine risotto in a chicken stock. It came out fluffy and nice, and he would cook chickens. And when you poach a chicken, and just when the chicken is just done right, he will drown the chicken in cold water to lock in the fats, which will turn into jelly.
Yeah.
So he had the room temperature or cold room temperature jelly and chicken, and he will serve it to people with that rice, and he will serve you this vinegar chili with a little garlic. It's like Tabascos with garlic in there, and some slices of cool cucumber. It looks plain. I mean, it's like
no, it does.
It's our national
I know
dish,
it's supposed to be. I know it's supposed to be fantastic, and the fact that I can't. There's no place in Chicago, despite our healthy, international community here, that I've never seen chicken rice on a menu. Here, so
chicken over rice is not Hainan chicken rice. Believe me, should I ever bring this hawkers to America, they will blow you guys away.
I tell you what, my next trip that I am taking once I can is I am going to Singapore. I've been wanting to do that for at least 15 years now, and the more I think about it, I'm sitting there, I'm following people on Instagram. I follow you. I watch any show that has anything about food in Singapore. I watch. It's Singapore and New Orleans in America are the two places I'm most obsessed about with regards
to Orleans. Oh man, take me to New Orleans, my friend. That's on my bucket list too.
Yeah, that's an amazing place. I'm actually going there next month to New Orleans. Yeah.
And if somebody knows their way, hop me over to Cuba. I want to discover Cuba too. The
Cuba
Chinese
would be cool.
Chinese must have left some kind of a food legacy that married up with Cuban food, and I would love to explore that and tell us untold stories.
Isn't that amazing how through immigration everywhere how much food changes? I mean, if you even talk about Mexico, Mexico has it has a serious influence from Japanese, oddly enough, which most people don't even realize. But that's basically where ceviche kind of came from. It's fascinating.
I mean, I call it the Silk Road of food culture. How immigration, history force people to move, and when they move, their food cultures move, and when food cultures move, they evolve, they meld, and out comes another iconic food culture, and it's evolving as we speak today.
Yeah.
For example, let me tell you about this very, very ironic dish. It's a curry dish, rice with curry over it, and you got meat, you got vegetables, and all that over it. And the menu would just say, so that's Indian, naturally. Come to Singapore, you ask anybody, don't take my word for it, ask anybody, take you out for curry rice. They will take you to a Chinese, Hainanese store.
Yeah.
You know, I have to learn about this dish. This is the most ironic, the most oxymoronic dish. It's the story about the Hainanese who came up with this curry dish that came to Singapore, but they've never been to India. The Hainanese when they came to Singapore, they were last of the migrant groups that came here hundreds of years ago. The migrant came, the Hainanese came probably 100 years ago, and by the time they came, the industries were occupied by different groups of Asians. The Indians took this business, different types of Chinese, Teochews, Hokkiens. They took the Muslims, and there were very little opportunities in business and trade left for the Hainanese. So the Hainanese resorted to working for the colonial overlords, the English. They worked in their homes, they ran their kitchens, they served in their hotels, their restaurants, etc., etc. And in the course of working for the English kitchens, they learnt curry rice from the English. And where did the English learn the curry rice from? British India.
Yeah.
They were there. They learned their stuff. They gentrified the curry, and then they cooked it back home, and then also in their homes in Singapore, where they taught these Hainanese folks how to cook them. And if you go to a Hainanese curry rice stall, it makes sense. You see stuff you don't find in Indian menus. You'll find pork chops, breaded fried prawns. You'll find sardines. You'll find additional very gentle curry chicken, and you'll see Chinese braised cabbage. All these are an amalgamation of the things they learned from the English and other races. It's amazing. It is the most diverse dish. You see a bit of all races on that plate.
It starts with the colonialism in India, goes back to England, then comes back to Singapore, and then they're like you said, they're teaching it to the Hainanese, and then they're doing their own interpretation. Let
me see if I can dig out a picture of this really ugly dish. You do the talking for a while.
No, that's fine. Well, one of the things I wanted to check in with you about. I know you're obviously the guy that is the big supporter. Is known as a big supporter of the hawker stalls in Singapore. Where is that at right now for you? I know that there's been the worry of the aging out of the owners, and there's also the talk about how low the prices are compared to what you would pay somewhere else, because people just won't pay necessarily for more for things that they've always paid less for. And then there's whatever's going on with regards to I'm trying to word this in a certain way because I want to make sure that you don't get in any trouble, but not so much government interference, but maybe that's the nicest term in terms of.
I know what you're on to. I'll tell you the story. Nothing to be shy about. Firstly, I'll show you that this ugly dish called can you see it?
Is that the curry rice?
It's the curry rice. Ugly, man.
It looks good.
The whole world sits on that. It's sloppy. Smooth.
It's 10 o'clock. It's 10 o'clock here, and I wish I had that.
Telling me what Chicago's Americans want to eat healthy. Hey, here's my motto, man. Die happy, man. Don't die healthy. God won't allow you to do that, man. Use up all the mileage that God gave in that body and die happy. So, hey, the hawker situation in Singapore is this. Hawkers are itinerant up until maybe 60, 70 years ago. They were all over the street. They were dirty. They pour things into the drains, and you do not know where they got their supplies from. So it's very suspicious. The very good ones will always have their lines and all that. And in the 60s, 70s, the government, up until the 60s, the government said, okay, enough of itinerant vendors. We're going to relocate everybody into custom-built, what we call hawker centers, people who hawk things on the street. You hawk vegetables, meats, whatever. They want to build huge, massive stadium-sized, football stadium-sized hawker centers and house 100, 200 vendors, each about maybe 10 feet by 10 feet. That's about the space they occupy back on the street. And they give you piped water, electricity, and drainage, and ventilation. And they relocated everybody in for cheap. Today it's cheap, but it was a number. It was quite a sum that day. But the government had to maintain it. So I mean, these things aren't free. So in the course of doing so, and the objective was environment. They didn't want people to clog up the drains. It will be an environmental nightmare. And if you are cooking by the streets, God knows, diesel fumes, food handling, all these problems will creep in. So the government resettled them in the name of safety and hygiene. But in the course of doing that, what happened was all these great stories about our heritage food was preserved. Chinese preserved it, Indians, the Muslims, we even have Hainanese style Western chop shops, chicken chop, pork chop, beef steak, thin beef steaks with eggs and all that. They're preserved, and they could still continue to sell their food affordably. I will tell you, Singapore, for a developed nation like Singapore, our food is near third world or developing nation prices. It's crazy. I've gone to countries that are still struggling to clean up a drain, and I paid more for their food in the streets than in a Singapore hawker store. So that was a great thing. So of course Singapore prospered over the years, and up until the 80s, or already maybe the 70s, 80s, Singapore was building, developing, industrializing, and they came up with this knowledge-based society in the 80s and the 90s about going online, technology, and all that. People have to be educated for a new tomorrow. And after building about 100 odd hawker centers, those huge ones where you house 100 over, all over Singapore, the government stopped. They said, we gotta have more computer geniuses. We want biotechnology. We want more lawyers, maritime lawyers. Just practical skills and knowledge you need to survive. So they didn't build any more hawkers. So the last professional hawker, full-time professional hawker that came into the scene was in the late 80s. And then, so the 80s, no more. People didn't get into the business anymore. And then there was this dark window, 90s until in the year 2000, when the government said, hey, hawker centers are a big thing. It's a big thing, helped by the fact that New York Times was writing about it. Bourdain was writing about it. Kelvin Trillian from the New Yorker was writing about it. And so many people were writing about it. If we need to build more hawker centers because it bonds people, people go there. They don't even damn who you are, what color, rich or poor. You line up for your food, you pay like everybody else, and you can share a table with everybody. You go up to a stranger and you ask them, "Hey, what is that? It looks good." They will tell you where, not just where. They'll tell you why it's good. They'll tell you about their family relationship with it. So form the cockles of people's heart. And the government said we're going to build more hawker centers in light of Singapore's love and affinity for these things. And they tagged me, about this government statement. And they said, hey, I was out of town. I said, hey, Seetoh, the government is looking to build more hawker centers. And the first thing I did was I replied and I said, if you're going to build more hawkers, here's the thing. Where are the new hawkers coming from?
Right.
There's no hawker university. There's no hawker school. There's nothing about hawker. You know or you don't know. And the last hawker that came on board in the 80s are now pushing 40, 50 years old. Today, those hawkers are 60, 70 years old. And the rate of replacement, of course, over the last few years, you read all about it, all these hawker stories, younger people are coming on board to take over. Not enough. And the skills and the art of it, this culture of handing hawker skills over is absent. Folks don't know how. What is secret, little secrets, which I'm still learning today, not really passed on for a few reasons. Hawkers don't want to pass on because it's an ATM number, buddy. Two, they don't know how to teach. So people struggle. A lot of people are coming on board. I'm trying my level best to tell you, you got to understand the dish before you can cook it better than the hawker. If you don't own the dish, you can't cook it. A YouTube recipe ain't gonna happen. You wouldn't know what it should taste like.
No, it's repetition. It's repetition and
And if I tell you a burger, wow, a sensation comes to you right now. You can replicate that. You can outdo any of the best burgers because you own that dish. So if you don't own, so you can spend more time understanding, asking questions, feeding that dish before you can cook it. That's where I come from.
Yeah. Now it's interesting you mentioned there is more at least an uptick in younger people taking on the hawker lifestyle, I guess, if for lack of a better word. But it's not enough because the last few decades people have been groomed to not work in food. They've been prodded to go to college and work in big corporate buildings and stuff like that, correct?
Aircon, office work, 9 to 5, weekends off, ideally near a mall. So I mean, that's a new generation. The internet brought them up to be like that. But then again, people are hearing stories about hawkers, how they are defending a culinary legacy of a country. And then I want to do that too. This is my calling. And then they go stand in a hawker stall and they realize, shit, it is really hard work, 15 hours. I know a lot of hawkers that go to work at 2 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
And they start cooking, they prep. They are ready to sell their dish by 8 a.m. That's 6 hours of prep work. Hey, hello, even restaurants don't even do that, no. 6 hours, they do the stock, they do the sauce, they braise, and they time it, everything so well. So that by the time they hang their roast ducks or their braised chickens and all that up on the shelves, it looks beautiful. And it's a lot of hard work. And this is the other killer. This is the other cancer. The government here for all the love they have for this culture, because it gave us a UNESCO award, and I'll tell you about that award later, and the affinity that people have for this dish, doesn't allow manpower to assist in this culture. For example, if you're going to set up, sure, you're going to be the boss, but hey, you want to hire somebody to help you do a prep, do some basics, some washing and cleaning up, a couple of assistants, you're not allowed to hire them.
Really?
Unspoken, it's an unspoken thing that the government says, we are reserving this menial, blue-collar, sweaty hawker jobs for Singaporeans. And as we know, Singaporeans don't want that job, even if it pays well. And it does pay well. No takers. So anybody wanting to come into this line today has to contend with the fact that you're going to be a lone ranger. Perhaps your wife or your brother or sister or a good friend may help you, but you're going to think of hiring somebody, pay them decently to help you, even qualified cooks and chefs, graduates from around the region, pay them more than the salary that they expect back home. Here, no takers, the government will not allow you to do that. So I always say you should, for a couple of reasons. It will spur people on, hey, I can hire workers, and help out. Like you guys can hire a lot of Hispanics and help you in the restaurants. They're doing hell of a good job. We can hire friends and buddies, friends from our ASEAN region, and help support this UNESCO class hawker culture.
Right, but you need the government to make that okay.
Everything is about the government here.
Yeah.
Even though the people cry out for help, I don't know what economic reasons that they have or political reasons that they have for not following up with the cries of the industry. You can Google. I mean, there's a lot of sites out there that talk about people's need for manpower. I just got this message from a friend. He runs a pub. He's Irish, I think. He's got a pub. He's got a few pubs, and he says, and they, of course they sell Irish chop. And they said, 10 Singaporeans hired, applied for the job. He pays well. That's why he had 10 applications. And when they heard about the job scope, 7 fell off. 3 took the job. On the day itself, all 3 did not show up.
Really?
No job. They didn't want a job. They got the salary they want. They negotiate for the work they can do, and they just didn't show up because, I don't know, somebody paid them $50 more. So it's like a moving chair. So our handle on this UNESCO award that we got is very, very fragile. UNESCO comes back every 6 years to determine if you still deserve the award. And at the rate we're going, I don't think we're going to get it in 6 years.
Yeah. Now, so that's not even an issue of not allowing more immigration to come in to fill the demand. I mean, do you have any real insight into why they won't budge on these things? It's so unclarified. Even you don't have an idea.
I can tell you all the reasons that it makes sense. I can even tell you that if you do that, you're going to get more votes in the next election. Ain't happening. I still don't know why. It is still like this from where they are. And people have openly cried out, let me hire my more friends from Malaysia or Indonesia or Philippines or in the region, and pay them the money that they want, more than they can get back home. And hey, some of these folks here are even happy to provide housing. Yeah, I'll give you a room somewhere, convenient. Yeah, take a day off every week and enjoy yourself. But ain't happening. Ain't happening.
So
it's also a form. It's also a form of culinary culture, colonialism.
Yeah.
You export. When these people are familiar with your dish, they go home, they export the dish. Just like how pizzas and burgers are found and ramen are found all over the world. It's soft culture, colonized soft culinary culture colonization.
So is it a matter of that it's that they possibly just don't want, they're kind of set with how they feel the country is populated, that they don't know, maybe it's that they don't want more immigration?
Hey, the whole of Singapore are immigrants.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I mean, we want from around the world, just like United States. We want the best. Say what you want. Everybody wants the best. So as long as they can come and contribute, call this place home, defend the integrity of this country, and make this country rock, we love you, man. We don't care if you don't speak any language, man.
Right. Yeah, well, I got to be honest. I'm from a country that has no business talking about other people's immigration policies. Ours is completely messed up because we can't realize that we need immigration to do jobs that Americans, quite frankly, do not want to do anymore.
Well, technically, if you rewind a couple of 100 years ago, majority of Americans, whatever color you are migrants.
Yeah.
From Italy, from Germany, from Ireland, they all came here to make America better.
Right. No, I agree.
Yeah. So what is it about calling the kettle black?
Yeah. The British were immigrants. I mean, we've got a horrible. I mean, I don't think I think America has probably one of the most horror-filled colonization stories of all time that we sometimes don't. Well, not sometimes. We don't like to acknowledge that we nearly wiped out an entire civilization that was already here.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You have no idea how much I watch CNN, especially the last 4 years. Remember?
Oh yeah.
I never watch. I became so rich because of my subscriptions.
Yeah. No, I'm thankful myself. I'm thankful that the last 4 or so months I don't have to. I read the news every day, but I don't have to be worried about the news as much every day like I was the past 4 years because, I think I've stayed.
Anyway, back to deliciousness.
Yeah, well, so where does hawker culture go from here? How does it survive?
The government is opening up little hawker courses, encouraging a new breed to come in, but it's success stories. It's very very limited. Because the real truth about a hawker is out there online. So if you want to be a hawker, you really have to. You cannot go in blind, Otherwise, you'll burn a big hole in your pocket. I mean, big enough for Singapore standards. And I feel we need a hawker academy.
Yeah.
Capturing, I mean, we come to Singapore. I tell you what's great about our food culture is the abject variety. You go to a hawker center with 130, 180, even 100, or even a 50 stalls, you will see the world there. From burgers to ramen to Japanese sushi and Thailand, Cambodian, Malaysian, Philippine food, Indian, all sorts of Chinese food in one walk around. You can eat the world in one hawker center.
Yeah. I know.
Cheaply.
Yeah, that's why I want to go there. It's why I want to go, because I know that I want to go there before it starts getting expensive at the hawker centers. Because one day,
I mean, even if they
wise up
by another 10-20%, hey, paying $5, $6 for a big platter of chicken, our national dish,
right?
It's not even a tip where you guys come from. It's not even a tipping service. $6 the hawker. You want a $6? I mean, the $6 version. That, oh wow, really? And he'll bring out the best. You put everything on a plate.
I pay. We pay over $5 for a Big Mac at McDonald's, which is not good. Number one, and number two, not a huge plate of exquisitely prepared food. It's just a crappy burger.
Handmade, really handmade.
Yeah.
Nothing comes out of a pack except the chicken that they bought from the suppliers. And the thing about Singapore, this is the other ironic story. It's an amazing story. We can sell chicken rice at $3 Singapore dollars. That's about $2 US.
Yeah,
that's the price. Okay. Commonly in town, people pay a bit more. They pay $3 US, $4 US, and you get the mother load portion.
That's insane.
That's insane. So there's chicken, there's fish. We get beautiful snappers in a fish broth, cooked with dried bones. And, it's just amazing, so comforting. You get Indians frying noodles Chinese style with sambal, and then you've got roti flipping away. It's amazing. But this is an even more amazing story. That 95% of all ingredients that we eat in Singapore are imported. We grow nothing. You give us a piece of land, they will grow a shopping center.
Yeah, no, I know. People don't realize how small Singapore is, and like you said, however, it's like 45 minutes to get from one end to the other. Supposedly.
Yep.
It's
95%. I mean, it's good and it's fragile at the same time. COVID. When the first lockdown happened last year, people weren't exporting because of the dangers, because the bacteria could come with the supplies that they bring over. And suddenly Singapore supplies was down. Everybody was, gosh, all I have is money. Where's my chicken?
Yeah, exactly.
So now they're talking about growing their own. They're leasing lands around the neighboring islands. They're growing our own stuff. Singapore is investing.
That's a good idea.
They don't. I mean, this is already thought of years ago by the initial leaders. I mean, they were visionary. I have a lot of respect for the initial first generation leaders. They said they will go out around the world. They will go around the world to shop for Singapore. So their officers, the government officers, will fly to, say, Brazil. And they look at some of these chicken farms and says, okay, your operation looks quite decent, quite safe, quite hygienic. I like to buy chickens from you. To which any, decent farmer would say, who the hell are you? You want to buy chicken from me? Who are you buying this for? How many do you want? I'm buying this on behalf of my country. Can you imagine the jaw would drop? If I approve the sale, all my vendors will buy from me. And all you need to do is ensure that we get to check your operations ever so often. You have to comply with all this. And I will go to Singapore and says, you can only buy from these approved vendors. So 80% of the chickens that we eat in Singapore come from Argentina, come from Brazil.
Yeah.
I mean, crazy, isn't it? The biggest.
Honestly, no, not really. I mean, if you're saying that 95% of it's, being brought in from somewhere else, it makes perfect sense. I would rather you buy them from Argentina and Brazil than from America, because we have horrible standards for chicken raising for the most part here.
Tyson's ain't that bad, is it?
What's that?
Tyson's.
Tyson.
Stories about them too.
To be honest, I think people that run Singapore for keeping everything in a clean, efficient manner would probably drop dead if they came over here and saw what the FDA allowed. Quite frankly, because it's I haven't seen it, but there was this movie. Fast Food Nation, I think it was called.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I mean there's worse. Oh, it's horrible. I mean, the good thing is in the last 20 years we've gotten a lot of through chefs. We've gotten a lot of people focusing on small purveyors and doing things right, but that has grown a bit, but considering it's been 20 years of it, it hasn't grown to the extent that it should. Like, our biggest problem last year with the food supply was that all these people were getting sick in the processing plants. So it slowed all production down for processing to get, we saw prices go up accordingly because there was limited supply and bless you. We're very inefficient in this country, quite frankly, and there's a lot. There's a lot in my mind, at least, that I can admire about how Singapore is run. Now, is it completely conducive to most Americans? No, we'll never have the ability to switch to the sort of.
I think America has the ability to be better than every nation in the world.
We do.
Whether they have the willpower to be.
That's exactly it. And the problem is, right now we're fighting amongst ourselves so much that we don't get anything done.
I don't know. I mean, America can make people around the world can make so much money selling chickens like the Brazilians or the Argentinians. So can America.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money to be made selling affordable stuff. You don't have to sell luxury goods. And look, the world's richest company give their products to you for free. Go ask Google and Facebook, man.
Okay. All right, I'll check into that.
Business of free. Google is in the business of free.
Yeah.
And who do I learn that from? Amazon. I learned it from Google. I learned it from Facebook. The business of free.
Yeah.
Everything I give it to you free. Don't ask me how I make money, but I'm not going to kill you in the course of doing so.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about what. I mean, you did say that younger people are starting to come around to getting this. How serious do you think the problem will be with hawker centers 5-10 years from now, when the people running them are going to be way beyond
frankly
do it?
Frankly, out of the 25,000 hawkers, the numbers will go down. I feel by maybe 10-20% by then. And then a lot of the foods that we grew up with, my generation grew up with and loved and could associate with because it linked to a culture that I grew up with, whether they are from all over the world, I'm familiar with it. A lot of dishes from that culture will be lost because the skills are not passed down, and a lot of the new generation hawkers will be cooking just popular internet recipes.
Yeah.
I can name a few dishes, like, for example, Chap Chai Peng. I know you've seen one of these Chinese stalls. They've got 20, 30, 40, 50 dishes laid out. You just point whatever you want and put it over rice. It's like a cheap man's donburi, but it's damn good cheap man's donburi. That will be lost because a stall like that in Singapore, for it to be fairly successful, you need to put up to 30 to 40 dishes laid out there. by lunch every day. Fresh, shiny, with spotlights on it. And every dish is recognizable, from ginger chicken, steamed fish, garlic this, chawan mushis, mincemeat chawan mushi and all that, braised meats and all that. Everything has to be recognizable. And to put 40 dishes out by lunch, by 11 a.m. every day, you know how frantic the kitchen is going to be in the morning?
Yeah.
And most of the time, I only see two cooks to whip up 20 dishes. And they're them in such a way, all the finishing is done at the last moment. The sauce is poured over, the heat is warmed, and they put it out there so everything looks fresh. It's an art. It's a heck of a lot of work. I think that business will go to machines, will go to robots. Central factories will be cooking maybe 100 varieties every day. Out of these, you've seen all this cement mixer style cooks. They just turn and turn. They throw dishes inside and they turn and they turn and turn. It will be cooked out of these machines, huge cookers. And then if you want to run a little store, you want the 20-dish variant, 50-dish variant, or what, we'll send it to you. You pay us so much a day, and all these dishes will look and taste the same in about 10 years. That's fine.
Yeah.
I don't see kids, any generation, whatever generation of younger folks coming out to do this. You ask them to cook. Don't ask them to cook 10. Just ask them to name 10. They will stop after 3.
Yeah.
Let alone 50.
Yeah. It's crazy. And it's becoming, one of the great things about Singapore, in my viewpoint, and what attracts me to it, besides the beautiful architecture that has taken hold in the last 20, 30 years, especially, is the pride in the hawker stall. And I would hate to, obviously I'm planning on getting there before any slow demise starts happening, but I would hate to not be able to go there and have that be a vital part of the country. I'm sure you would too. I can't imagine it's your main thing in life. So I know why you're so passionate about this subject.
Yeah, I see cultures. I see people behind a plate of char kway teow or nasi lemak, and that's what. I mean, everybody's a food critic, man. Come on, but I love telling stories that are undertold, and that mean so much to travelers, to people who are trying to find a little meaning in their daily existence. And then when you eat something, you realize, this is me. This is who I am. And I'm happy. I'm who I am. When I travel and I eat your food, I understand you. So, you can call it food diplomacy if you want to. The American acting ambassador here recently put up a post, a video post about, you can Google it, Mr. Rafiq Mansour, about 55 years of diplomatic relations Singapore has with America. And this ambassador, he knows a lot of people in Singapore. And then he put in a 10-second segment where they asked him, who's your favorite Singaporean? And who's your favorite Singaporean? And my face shows up. Very nice. He says, this guy practices the best diplomacy, culinary diplomacy.
No, it's absolutely.
Lay it out on the table, nobody cares, man. Everybody loves you to bits.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple of, I don't want to keep you much longer, but there's a couple of small questions I wanted to kind of ask you. One is, I know you said that you have places for burgers and stuff, but what sort of hold besides that does American food have there? Is there a place besides our imported fast food garbage that's there, or is our fast food stuff even? I know KFC is there because I've seen people talk about the completely wild and different KFC flavors that they have in Singapore. But what part of Singapore culture is Americanized in terms of food?
I love American junk food here. I kid you not. When McDonald's first came, it was world news. Was the most popular, most affordable, most profitable outlet in the world. that was how crazy it is. A little outlet downtown, our shopping belt. And then today, I don't know how many 100 outlets they have. People still go. I think it's a generation grew up by habit, they go there. It's comforting. I wouldn't say it's nice, but it's comforting.
No,
it is a lifestyle.
That's why I still go there, because it's a memory based thing from when I was a kid, when it was better.
Yeah,
you know,
childhood food. KFC. Oh, I mean fried chicken. Who doesn't like fried chicken?
Oh, I love fried chicken.
We also have local fried chickens. I really love fried chicken. Pizza. The pizza joints are everywhere. But because Singaporeans like this pizzas and burgers and fried chicken things, there are a breed of new hawkers coming up to sell artisanal burgers, artisanal pizzas, and artisanal their local style fried chicken with all kinds of flavors, and that is also catching traction. It's got a local twist. For example, burgers by putting something between two buns, right? I've got this hawkers, these friends of mine. They took pork. They took pork, mashed it, and it becomes soft, you know. And then they battered and they fried it, and they tossed that battered fried pork chop in get this, listen, coffee sauce. Coffee with umami. They have miso, and they have oyster sauce. Yeah, you go like this. Was the first reaction when I heard this many years ago. But when I sunk in it, I said, shit, where have you been all my life? You don't taste coffee. You get the aroma of coffee, but it's savory because of the other thing. There's cinnamon. They put all this. Oh, it is so gorgeous. And they have chili crabs. I'm sure you have chili crabs. You have a chili crab.
I know there's some places to get chili crab, yeah.
And they took soft shell crab, battered it, deep fried it, slathered in chili crab sauce. They put it between two buns, and they put greens and pickles and spice the pickles, and then you bite in. Oh man, how can you not love something like that?
Oh yeah, those soft shell crabs are a big thing in Florida and in Baltimore, Maryland.
I can't wait to bring it to the United States should I get the chance, man, and suck it to you.
Well, that's my second question, and I wanted to ask, because I did know that you were consulting with Tony on his planned food center. Did that go with him?
So he came up with this idea of building Bourdain hawkers, that he called it initially. When he came to my event, he says, "Buddy, I want you to build my food hall in New York." And I looked at him. Tony, it's so easy to say something like this. This is no joke. A lot of money, a lot of work. Are you guys ready for it? And then, that was the first time he ever mentioned this. And I said, sure, if you can get all this together, I'll curate, I'll get it done for you. So he said, hang on, buddy. And he has never laid out any plans. 2 years later, after he brought that, Stephen Bourdain gave me a call. Stephen Bourdain was the first to approach Bourdain separately, not knowing that we had already discussed this separately. He came to Bourdain, pitched the idea to him, and Bourdain said, go call Seetoh. And Bourdain came down to Singapore. We had a chat. We formed a little team, and we were rolling along. And then one fine day, I don't really know what the story is. Till today, Tony had to call and say, buddy, I called this whole event, this whole project off. And I said, yeah. So, well, fret not. The people involved in the project, and they are big name people, we're still talking about continuing where Bourdain left off, but perhaps talking about world street food vendors and their stories. New York is the world. The world must come and sell.
Oh, yeah.
There's a big part of the world that isn't in New York. So you got to bring that flavor, tell and sell the stories and flavors.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to ask you that because I had read that there was all this talk of him doing it, but I never read that was officially off. So I'm glad you were able to shed some light on, that it was off before he passed.
I think the news was out. It was supposed to be at Pier 57 in New York. We went visiting there. Tony walked me through the place. He showed me what should be where. He even spoke about, I think it's taken over by Google today. Google wants the floor upstairs, and Google hires people from around the world. And if we're going to sell food from around the world, Google will be happy to pre-buy.
Brilliant idea.
And I said, yeah, why not, man? We've got the best from around the world. Why would Google need to set up a kitchen? Just take a flight of steps down, and the whole shebang will be there for you.
Yeah. We have Google here, and below them is a couple of different restaurants that are really good, but it's not that thing, obviously. And the closest thing we have to anything like that would be like Chinatown, in any city. I particularly love Chinatown here in Chicago myself. It's one of my favorite places to go, just because I can sit there and order something and not have any idea what it's going to be, and sometimes get surprised, sometimes not. But
I go to Flushing's to eat. Flushing is not Chinatown. Flushing's is China. I go there as a Chinese, and I feel discriminated by the other Chinese because I don't speak their dialect. That's how racist some of us are. I gotta. Oh, okay, you're Taiwanese. Okay, you're from this part, and I try to put a couple of words of their dialect in there, and things magically change.
Isn't that fascinating? Yeah.
Because food is
people
about
still
culture.
Discriminate. Yeah, people still discriminate.
But who cares, man? I have fun, man. Because when you serve me good food, all is forgiven, man.
Yeah. My last question for you is what is it? Are you working on anything specifically right now? I mean, are you considering? Are you working on trying to get another one of your? I forgot what the term you used for it, but the thing that you had Anthony speak at a couple of times. Are you working on maybe doing something like that again for the next year? When hopefully.
So we are looking to do the World Street Food Congress. It's the event that we brought. COVID has killed us. And then we have been off for a couple of years, 2-3 years now, because we were planning and then it was cancelled. And then COVID came along. I even hope to bring it to the United States.
Well, that would be awesome.
But the thing is that I have to reinvent its format because if things don't clear up, how can I make it safe and exciting at the same time? And then hang on, I'm looking for something. We're also looking. We'll continue the conversation about how we could bring the UNESCO Singapore hawkers to America, or even the World Street Food vendors. We give out awards to top World Street Food vendors. It's called the World Street Food Awards. You can Google it. We didn't give it for a few years now because we hadn't done the event. So when that happens, here's what I think. I think in its own ways, I'm opening up opportunities for those mom and pop folks who have been busy defending their heritage, and also to investors and partners. Hey, wow, we can do this. I can partner you. I can invest in you. I can take you around the world. You must remember, hawkers are given Michelin stars in our parts now. So if you invest in a award recognized or even a Michelin star hawker, and you take them around the world, your story will change.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to me today, Seetoh. It's been a pleasure. It's been a dream of mine to actually get to talk to you and pick your brain about so many things, and especially in the age we're in.
It's gonna end. It will.
Yeah.
Wait hard for it, and just listen to the people that know and who like get us out of this shit. Before you go, I just like to show if your viewers and listeners are want to find out more about what this food culture is all about. Let me show you one of the my ebook. My food guide now has gone online, and this is what it looks like. I will show you. This is the ebook. Here we go. Can you see it? Hold on.
It's mostly white. Kind of. Oh, I see. Oh, there you go. There you go.
Oh, so if you go into it, let me do it.
Yeah, I started reading some of it actually.
And then you can look at the photo gallery, tap onto the photos, and you can choose by a photo menu. Pick what you want. Pick what you want, and you'll go to that segment, page by page. Some of them even have the videos.
Nice. That's awesome. That's really cool.
And here's the best part: it's free, my friend.
Yeah. No, I looked through a little bit of it fairly recently. It's very cool. And I'll definitely post links to that and your social media and things like that as well when I
Thank you, buddy.
The video. But
for my hour I've given you of my life.
I appreciate your time. And again, the offer's there when you're safe to travel again, and if you come to Chicago, feel free to look.
I'm there, man.
Okay. Well, you
must be. What's Chicago's national dish?
Well, if you want to go old school, what we've always been known for, it's hot dog. You know, it's the Chicago hot dog. It's pizza.
Deep dish pizzas. Is that
pizza,
you?
Yeah. There's
deep dish pizzas.
Deep dish is one of them, but there's also the best pizza in Chicago is a little tiny place just out, like kind of on the outskirts of the city.
Love it.
That would be a place, and it's got like very thin cracker crust. And
my kind of place.
Yeah,
kind of story.
You would love it. You'd love it. So yeah, if you wish, seek me out. I will take you on a tour.
Done, my friend. Hang in there.
All right, you too. You have a great rest of your day.
Take care. Same to you, buddy.
Stay safe. Bye.